I told Michael before we started, just let her rip, and he said, man, I can't do anything different. So thank you, Michael. You sound wonderful. It's great to see you. And thank you, Cerny, for a tasteful accompaniment, as always. Thank you. So welcome, everyone, to the light and the love that is Unity of South Sound. Thank you so much for bearing with us and technical issues. We bless our technology. We bless Amy, and we just are grateful that you're here. So if this is, in an effort to stay in alignment with the healthcare professionals' guidelines and governor's guidelines, we are still meeting online at this time, and we are in discussions as to when we would like to come back together. And thank you all for replying to our survey. Very helpful information to get your feedback. So we will let you know when that time comes via email, via eBlast, website, and our answering machine. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 253-301-0385 or email us at office@unityofsouthsound.org. So just invite you to take this moment to relax and reconnect as we affirm the truth of who we are. Will you please say with me our opening affirmation? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotence. And our mission statement: inspired by the divine, as an inclusive spiritual community, we explore and express our highest potential. And our vision statement: present and centered in divine love, we co-create a peaceful and awakened world. And finally, our core values: we are love, joy, abundance, and spirit-guided. As I light this Christ candle, I invite us all to remember that amidst all the ups and downs, this divine light is burning within each one of us. So we just take this moment to join in prayer together. And as we do so, we open our hearts and our minds to that divine presence of God. That presence that has been with us before our birth, that is flowing through our entire life, from birth to death, and will go with us for all eternity. We know that there is a presence and a power that animates us, that flows through us, that works through our mind, our body, and our spirit each and every day of our life. And so we turn within to that presence in this moment, acknowledging and affirming its power, and allowing ourselves to move and work through its guidance. So as we explore today the issue of freedom and how to embody that with greater equality, with greater respect and love for all beings, we remember that this force of full freedom and liberation comes from God through each one of us to make a better, more kinder, more loving world. So for this presence that walks with us, we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. So now I invite you, wherever you may be, to please stand and join, if you're able, in singing our congregational song with Joey.
Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in all one of us to be true. Find your spark, it is inside of you. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. We can all, every one of us, to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by.
So now is the time in our service where we get to give a namaste greeting to our neighbor. If you live with someone and you feel comfortable giving them a hug, you can give them a hug. If not, I just invite you to bow to your neighbor and say, Namaste, I behold the divinity you are. Namaste, namaste, namaste. I want to also send a namaste greeting out to the entire Northwest region. Namaste, Northwest region. I want to send it out to the United States of America. Namaste, United States of America. I want to send it out to the entire world. Namaste, planet Earth. We behold the divinity you are.
Greet the neighbor next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Look around the sanctuary. Feel the love that's shining through. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, greet the neighbor next to you. Say, I behold the God in you. Lift your hands in the sanctuary. Let the love come flowing through. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, greet the neighbor next to you. Say, God is love and so are you. You're at home in the sanctuary. Receive the love that's here for you. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love.
Our inspirational reading for this morning comes from the hugging saint, Amma, who, if you've never gotten to see her, I really invite you to check her out. She comes to Seattle every year. So Amma says the Sanskrit word yoga means to bring two things together, to merge. Some say it is the merging of the individual soul with the supreme soul, or of the devotee with God. But in truth, yoga is not a coming together, but a moving away from the misconception that we were ever apart from God. There is, always has been, and always will be nothing but oneness. This is because there is but one true self expressing itself in all creation. All people, mountains, rivers, animals, plants, and trees are this one true self alone. Unfortunately, in our current state, we are empowered by our sense of I and mine. Our likes and dislikes are so strong that we are unable to grasp this truth of oneness. Hence, we think we are apart from each other and God. Here's a story to explain. Once there was a child at a fair who got lost from his mother. He didn't know what to do. He looked everywhere, but all the people he saw were strangers. In his panic, he started running here and there, but no matter where he went, he didn't see his mom. Then he fell down and cried. He cried as hard as he could, and it was then that he felt his mother's kiss on his forehead. In fact, the little boy had not been lost. He had not even been to a fair. He had always been in his mother's arms. He had fallen asleep and was just having a nightmare that he could not find his mother. Our so-called separation from God is just like this. To understand our situation, all we have to do is wake up. Then we will see that we have never been apart from God, who is the mother of all.
Unfortunately, during the corona pandemic, a lot of amazing people in general have passed away, and a lot of great artists, Bill Withers among others that I can think of. And so with that in mind, I want to play this spiritual piece that in tribute to them. This is called I'll Fly Away.
Thank you so much, Michael. You bring so much joy to the sanctuary. Even if no one's here, we're sending it out to all of you. So thank you so much, Michael. Yeah. Well, I hope you all had a good 4th. I know it was kind of noisy at our place, which is, par for the course. Happy birthday, America. So what I wanted to speak about today is just how we can kind of draw ourselves back for a moment from all that's happening, all the changes that are going on, because sometimes when there's a time of great change, we can really get kind of sucked in to the drama, to the trauma. And what I want to invite us to do in our spiritual growth especially is to be able to look behind it a little bit and to step back just a little bit. Because I think as we do that and we go deep in our spiritual practices, like the inspirational reading, we start to realize that this whole world is really this cosmic dream of light and shadow. And so when we wake up from a nightmare, we know that as bad as that nightmare was, if we wake up in the middle of the night or the next morning, we realize, oh my gosh, that was just a dream, that was a nightmare. And here I am, I'm okay. And so this awakening to our true nature is really what we are after in all of our spiritual practices. Now, right now, there is a transformation definitely happening on our planet. And our planet is literally being flooded with light, with so much light. Now, flooded with light, it doesn't really feel that way, right? I mean, if you're looking at the level of what our co-founder Charles Fillmore called sense consciousness, which means that we're getting almost all of our information from our senses, from this physical world. If we're looking at things through that light, it doesn't seem like light's flooding over the planet. But what does light do? It exposes the darkness wherever it is at. It exposes the darkness wherever it is at. The light literally brings up anything that is not like it, so that what is not like the light can be examined and studied and discussed and new policies can be made, and eventually it can be transformed and healed. Now, this is actually a gift because without the light, we couldn't even see what needs to be healed. And we oftentimes don't want to look at it, especially ourselves and our contribution to the collective experience that we may be having, our thoughts and our beliefs that may be adding to things. Now, it's a painful process oftentimes when the light comes in, but if we are willing to stick with it, it will lead us to our highest good. Now, at first, it seems like things are getting worse. You know, the light comes in and starts exposing the darkness and bringing everything to the surface that's not like it. It's not pretty. It seems like things are getting worse. And we all know that in a process of healing, the wound itself oftentimes hurts. I mean, you all have had a cut or something where your cut is healing and it itches or it hurts, or you've had a broken bone and in the cast it starts to hurt, right? But we know that actually a healing process is taking place. Now we see again the issue of racism, which I spoke about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we've seen all throughout the history of our country so much injustice to blacks, to browns, to red people, to yellow people, to everyone. There has been so much injustice and so much unacknowledged pain. I mean, historically, there has been so much inequality. And it still exists today in a way that in many aspects we're very unconscious of. We're becoming more conscious. But it still is this unconscious energy that has been spread throughout our country. And yet, as this light comes in, we are literally being flooded with articles, with programs on TV, with dialogues, with expressions that are awakening the world to this truth. Now, the first expression, of course, is anger. Purpose of it being recognize that there's a problem. You know, we get upset and it's saying there is something wrong here. And what I'd invite us to do is once we recognize that there is a problem, to go even deeper and to say, okay, let's learn more about this. Let's get serious about exploring this. Let's dialogue about it. Let's educate ourselves about it. And then let's make changes. Let's be love in action. Now, as I say, the world is literally being flooded with this process, with these sort of programs, with this sort of information. My wife Orchid has been watching a series on stars. I don't know if you have stars. But it's following the lives of black and white students at a high school in Chicago. And it's a 10-part series, and they chose this school because the percentage of black and white students was about the same. And so they selected the school because of this. And so it follows the lives intimately of these different students. It shows them at sports practices, it shows them at home with their families, it shows them in the classroom, it shows them outside of the classroom. And the people that are filming it have some hypotheses, and the whole point of the program is to examine the systemic racism that is in this school and thus in the nation. And they have some hypotheses that they think maybe are the reasons why. But as you go through the series, they realize that some of those might be correct and some of them actually might not be. And as they go through this program, they begin to uncover things they didn't even realize were there in the first place. And then they begin to actually still be unsure of many of the other reasons why. Now, if we sort of stay at that level of sense consciousness, we're going to be upset. We're going to say, man, this is painful to look at. But it's more painful not to look at it. Because if we don't look at it, then it grows and it spreads and it becomes more powerful and more all-pervasive. And so the fact that we have a 10-part series on racism in American high schools on TV is actually a good thing. It's painful to see, but it's a good sign that we are looking at this issue. Now we are beginning this dialogue, we're continuing this dialogue, and we're detailing it. We're showing it on national TV, we're exploring it, we're creating new policies now. We're beginning that process to make healthier decisions and choices where everyone can be represented more equally. And everybody that watches this program is becoming more aware. Now, if we live at this level of the relative truth, we still could be depressed by this. We could say, Why isn't it fixed? This has been going on for so long. But the deeper truth is that millions and millions of people are waking up to the truth that this exists. And they may be realizing that much of their ideas and our ideas have not been correct, and correcting those ideas. Maybe realizing that some of them are confirmed. Maybe discovering new things that we haven't seen before. But this has been building up for generations, and it is because of the presence of God, because of the light, that we are now able to see this, that this is even possible. You know, when you plant a garden, it takes a little while for that garden to grow. You know, you plant the seeds, and we planted corn this year, and we had this little patch, and you put the seeds in, and nothing came up for quite a while, and I was kind of concerned about the corn seeds, and I thought, maybe they're just bad seeds, they're not going to grow. But you know, deep down we know that there's something happening there with those seeds. They're germinating in the soil, and roots are going down, and pretty soon, after a couple of weeks, I started to see those little sprouts of the corn. And those sprouts we celebrate, yeah, there they are, and then we protect them and we water them, and some of the sprouts don't make it, and we bless them. And then those sprouts start to grow, and they grow strong, and those stalks start to get more sturdy, and then leaves start to come off, and pretty soon flowers start to appear, and they fall, and the fruit starts to come about. But this is a journey, right? It's a journey. And for us, I think to have a 10-part series on racism in American high schools on TV is a symbol that some seeds are starting to sprout. And so what I would invite us to do is, rather than get caught up and fixated and transformed by everything that's going wrong and the fact that we don't have the fruit yet, to focus and support the growth that is occurring. Because again, it is the presence of God that is behind that is causing the turmoil that we see in the world to appear. Now that's paradoxical, right? But again, it's because without the presence of the light illuminating the darkness, we couldn't even see it in the first place. So really, if we learn to step behind what's going on, we see God's presence at work. And that's the key. That is what we need to remember. Now, this is all kind of symbolic of a fancy term that I've referred to so often that we use in Unity called chemicalization. It's a strange word. Chemicalization. And all it means is that an old set of beliefs or an old truth are meeting a new one. Now, that old set of beliefs may be limited. It may need to be replaced. It may not be as loving and as aware as this new one. And oftentimes when that new truth comes into our consciousness, wherever it's at, it can feel like hell. I mean, especially when we are identified with that old truth. And maybe a huge part of our life is caught up in believing in that old truth. This new one comes along and it really shakes us up. But the key here is that that's a good thing. That's a good thing when it feels really uncomfortable, because what it is signifying is that a transformation is taking place. Transformation. Now, black people in America have experienced some form of oppression for hundreds of years. This is very obvious. And yet there are ways that it continues that are more subtle and less obvious. And we're on a journey right now to correct that, to become aware of the ways that it is more subtle in all of us, to make policies, to educate ourselves, and ultimately to treat each other differently and heal this issue. I think what helps us in this journey is to keep remembering that there is an unchanging presence of God within every single one of us. And as we go about this journey and we make these steps, to remember to come back to that presence each and every day to strengthen and guide us. My nephew, Jackson, when he was really young, my brother and I went hiking in Arkansas, and we got back in the car after we were done hiking, and Jackson had this little acorn, and we said, "What do you got there, Jackson?" And he said, "I've got this acorn, and I'm going to plant it in the backyard, and I'm going to wait and wait and wait. I may even have to wait all night." And we kind of chuckled. And I kind of think about that sometimes as an example that oftentimes we want our efforts to immediately come to fruition. And so I kind of ask us, what can sustain us on this journey? What can sustain us? And I think the most powerful force that really sustains us on any journey of transformation is love. It's love. Our co-founder Charles Fillmore described love as the ultimate unifying and harmonizing force in the entire universe. Love brings together all people. It brings together all ideas. It brings together all creativity. It brings together all strength. It brings together all innovation. It harmonizes and unifies all things. As beautiful as our minds are and as important as they are, what wonderful tools they are, they can chop up and analyze anything and help us to understand a situation, but we intuitively know that the love in our hearts is what sews it all back together. And so as we become more aware of this issue of injustice, I invite you to ask yourself, how can my heart speak? How can my heart speak? And how can I be love in action? See, I think it's important that as we go through this process that we balance, that we see what needs to be healed, and that we feel the feelings associated with that, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the grief. And at the same time, balance with not being consumed by that, and returning again and again to the presence of God. See, if all of us are candles, every single candle is different. I mean, even if it's the same color candle, that there is a single light that lights every one of those candles. I'm remembering all of you sitting here with your candles at Christmas time. You know, the candles are different, but the light is one. And so as we go about this process of bringing forth this change, let's remember that there is a singular light that animates every single one of us. And as we do this, it helps us to not be consumed by the anger, the sadness, the frustration, the grief, but actually to become more centered and more empowered as we go about changing it and lessening the prejudice and inequality in our world. So what one loving thing can you do? How can you reach out to minorities in our world today? How can you create a loving, listening presence? Can you create a space where people can share their stories with you? What would love do now? What would love do now? See, when we take this approach, not only are we centered and empowered in the truth that we know, but we are bringing forth a healing presence that can restore our world rather than divide us and break it down. I think first we need to find healthy expressions for our anger, a healthy outlet for that anger, because these emotions are very understandable. You know, it's very understandable. We're all human beings. And you can use the energy of anger to actually help you become stronger if you use it in constructive ways. And even take it further and transform it and transmute it into love in action. But it's important, again, to express our emotions in these constructive ways so, as Charles Fillmore said, we can bring that unity and that harmony back into our world. The way I believe, it's through love. It's through love. You know, we want those flowers of equality to blossom and bloom instantly. But you can't force a flower to blossom. You can prepare the soil, you can water it, you can send it love, you can cultivate it. And if you do that, it will grow. It will grow. So often today we get stuck in that level of sense consciousness, in this relative world, in our negative emotions, and it begins to cloud our perceptions, you see? And we begin to get focused on all that is wrong and all that needs to be improved, and we stay centered in that relative truth. And in a sense, it's really only a portion of the relative truth, because there's all these other wonderful relative truths coming up that have never occurred before, that are incredible, that are awakening. And we know that our third principle in unity says that our thoughts create our experience of life. So we can choose to walk around our lives and carry that sort of awareness that the glass is half empty, you know, or maybe even only a third full or fourth full. But we know that our thoughts create our reality and draw to us what is like it. And so the kind of kicker here is, do we want to send out that energy of the glass half empty? Is that the contribution that we want to make to the collective experience? Or do we want to begin to also see that the glass is becoming more full, sometimes half full, maybe not always. When we express those negative emotions and let them flow through us, we can return back to love and begin to see this greater reality that is occurring on our planet, which is underneath and behind, sometimes even in front of, what is occurring in the relative world. If there's a group out there, or an organization, or a consciousness even, a tendency in people that you don't like, I really invite you to express your hurt in constructive and healthy ways. And then I invite you to go within and begin to do a loving kindness meditation. Hold that group, hold that organization, hold that tendency, maybe even in yourselves, especially in humanity, in loving kindness. See, this is something that we don't want to do. Usually we want to fight it, don't we? And say, I'm right, you're wrong, and you're bad. And how dare you? Bing. Send that group or that organization or that consciousness, loving kindness from your heart. And see that love flowing out of you, helping other people to become more kind, to become more aware. And see that entire group immersed in a living flame of love and light, uplifted and transformed in that love. Now you might say, well, that's just a meditation, Jeffrey. That's not powerful. But we know from the research, we know from even our personal experience how powerful that inner state of consciousness is. It brings forth everything that we see around us. And remember that the vibration that you live in is what you're going to attract in this world. So if rather than just fighting all the time, that's a good starting point, or it's a starting point, I should say. If you want to change the world, move into that vibration and live into that, live in that. And you can start by changing your own life, and in a small way, you will have changed the world. So we are in this transformation at this time, and it's important to remember that as transformation happens, there is pain. Pain is coming to the surface because of the light, and that is what we need to remember, because it's backed by so much light. The light is bringing it to the surface to be looked at. And we have a choice. How do we want to respond to that darkness? Do we want to transform it? Do we want to send it more energy? To be transforming it, we have to not be tricked by it. We have to believe that the light is more powerful than that darkness, because the light's what brought it out in the first place, right? And we must balance and be with the negative emotions that we feel, allow them to flow through us in loving ways, and then take loving action. How can we be love in action? It's not one or the other. And remember that even though we want that acorn to grow into a tree, it does take time. And this is a journey that we are on, and love will sustain us in this journey. And one day those flowers, they will start to grow. And I believe they are growing. And each and every flower that grows moves us closer to oneness and equality. It's a journey of transformation that we are on. And so I invite us to work together in love and move it forward. And so it is. Amen. And so I just invite us to prepare for a time of meditation together. And we take a deep breath in, and we breathe that out. Take another deep breath in, and breathe that out. We bring our love and our attention to this moment, God, to your presence within us, to the awareness that deep within all things is this amazing presence of love. That your love guides our thoughts and our actions. That it inspires us to look where we may not have looked before. It gives us courage to look at the darkness which we have created and which still exists on our planet. It gives us the strength to go forward as we seek to change it and change ourselves. The love, the light within each one of us is so powerful that it never dies. It never gives up hope. It simply is the truth behind all things. And so in this moment, we turn closer to it. We fill ourselves with an awareness that with the presence of God within us, we can do no wrong. That if we live and act and move through the presence of love, it will guide us. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. But as we continue to align ourselves with this presence, it transforms us and it transforms our world. And so in this moment, I invite you to send your love out to any part of this planet that may be in darkness, to any part of yourself that may be in darkness. I invite you to send that love into human hearts everywhere, bringing greater awareness, visualizing human hearts becoming a little bit kinder, visualizing human beings acting from that kindness, and visualizing all of us coming together, as Charles Fillmore said, in a spirit of harmony and love. We are stronger together, and this spirit of unity each and every day we affirm is growing behind all things. As our name says, we are unity. And we hold this truth for all human beings. And so as we ponder this truth, I invite you to simply be for a few moments in that love, in that unity that dwells right within you. So as we bring our attention back to this beautiful space of connection and love that we have co-created with the divine, we feel a sense of strength. We feel a sense of energization that has happened as we have touched the stillness within. We give thanks for this country, for the ability to simply dialogue and wrestle with and explore these truths, to strive to become more aware and to be more loving. We celebrate the eternal ideal of freedom and equality, and we vow and affirm to do our very best to manifest it in this world. And so we go forward into our week with a renewed sense that this presence of energy, of light, of love is at work, is chemicalizing the world, is transforming the world, one light at a time. And as we kindle that light in ourselves, we kindle it in others, each and every person that we meet. We bring forth love and encouragement and hope in action. So for this truth and so much more, we are so grateful, God. Thank you, God. Thank you. And so it is. Amen. And so if this is the first time you have joined us, we just want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for joining us online today. We are just so blessed by your presence, your love. And so we visualize also many more people coming and joining us online and being uplifted and supported by this message. And so we want to send this blessing out to you. If you are a newcomer, if you're a live streamer, we want to send you our unity blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity you are. And so at this time, I just invite Michael to prepare for his next song, which he looks like he's in the process of. And just want to invite you into a time of offering. And there's three easy ways you can do this. You can go to our website, which is unityofsouthsound.org. In the upper right-hand corner, there's an orange donate button. You can make a secure and safe donation that way. You can call our office at 253-301-0385, or you can mail us at Unity of South Sound, 710 South Anderson Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405. And so whether you make your tithes online or you've got them in your hand, I just invite you to hold them in your heart or in your hand, and we say this offering affirmation together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God.
So I'm going to sum up your message today. You know, it's a common thing to say WWJD, what would Jesus do? But in this case, it's what would love do, and what would the light do? WWLD. And with that in mind, I want to play something that we obviously we just went through the having the holiday of July the 4th, Independence Day, and we also are getting more acknowledgement in general of Juneteenth, which is the day that the slaves found out that they were free. And with that in mind, and with all of the things that are going on in the world that are causing the chemicalization and the light to be shown, this is a song that always has been important to the African American community, and it was called the Negro National Anthem or the Black National Anthem, and we were getting patriotic. So for that community and for Black Lives Matter and all of the things that are happening now, I'm going to play you my version of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Thank you so much, Michael. So we just have a few announcements for you today. We want to remind you that if you would like to sign up for our e-blast and stay up to date on all of our services and events, easy to do so. Just go to our homepage at unityofsouthsound.org. There's a newsletter sign up at the top. Fill out your info and submit it. So we want to let you know that there is an upcoming class called the Yoga of Jesus. Don't worry, you don't have to do any crazy yoga poses. We're just going to be looking deeply at the teachings of Jesus and how they parallel really the ancient teachings of yoga from India, and how each of us can come to a deeper sense of our own experience of God within us, and how Jesus' teachings were really helping us to do that. So it's a 5-week class beginning on July 13th. We will go from 7 to 9 p.m., and it's a Zoom class. So if you'd like to join, the links will be in the e-blast or on the website. Just click there and you can tune in from wherever you're at, on the beach maybe. Also, we'll continue with Coffee with yours truly on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. for an hour. Just come join us and check in and share what's on your heart and your mind. It's a good way for us to stay connected as a community and to talk about the issues that are going on today, which we've been having a wonderful time doing. So come join us for that. Again, the links are on the e-blast and the website for that. Also, after service, we will have a social hour, our Sunday social hour, beginning at 11:15-ish, I'll say. Because sometimes our services, like today we started a little late, sometimes the service goes a little bit longer. So just bear with us, be patient if you arrive before other people, but we will do our best to start at 11:15. And the links for that, again, e-blast and website. So we also want to let you know that Project Paintbrush this year, we will not be able to do it. Thank you for those that came forward and wanted to help, but we simply didn't have enough volunteers this year to be able to do this outreach that we do. So we bless Project Paintbrush, and we send our love out to all the other groups that are continuing with that project, and we'll do it next year. I wanted to add also for the yoga class that the reading beginning next week, the reading for next week will be chapters 1 and 2. Pretty simple. You got a week to read it. So at this time, even though our youth are not here with us physically, we would love to send them a blessing and send our teachers and Jennifer Richardson, our youth director, our unity blessing. So to all of our teachers and our youth, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity you are. So at this time, I invite Joey to come forward and lead us in singing the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all agreeing. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace and harmony. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And our prayer of protection, the light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Happy 4th weekend. God bless you all. See you next week.